Well, Steam Machine reviews are here, and most outlets seem to predictably, almost entirely, be focusing on its eye-watering $1,049 price point, which, well, understandable given how insane that price is. I actually think some conversations are missing what is usually one of the most important things you discuss when analyzing any piece of gaming hardware: performance. Don't worry, I will get to the price and what kind of PC you can build with it at the same amount of money you're dealing with as the price of the Steam Machine soon, which, spoiler, I can afford to include a controller in my Steam Machine killer build. But seriously, first, we cannot miss the performance aspect, in my opinion. Seriously, I am seeing tons of people try to defend the Steam Machine with arguments that revolve around its amazing form factor, or, oh, it's the concept of a console that can play your Steam games. Really, any argument they can make that stays away from the performance aspect to justify the price, and I believe that's because they know they will be pigeonholed into a undefendable position if anyone has any time to talk about the performance itself. Regardless of price, the performance is bad, worse than I expected. Seriously, this thing, according to Gamers Nexus, is most comparable to an RX 6600, which is easily weaker than the RX 6700 class GPU the PS5 have, a GPU that's around like a 7600 or 7600 XT, which you can see in Gamers Nexus's benchmarks is like a full 20% or more faster than the Steam Machine, despite costing hundreds of dollars less and letting you have a controller with it. And by the way, this information here with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, this benchmark is backed up by Digital Foundry that did find that the PS5 in performance mode gets around 60 frames per second in 1080p. So there's two data points to back this up. And no, the CPU doesn't save the Steam Machine either. Its two big cores and four little cores fail to consistently beat even a 6-core Zen 2 CPU, and generally speaking seem to fall around an 8-core Zen 2 or 6-core Zen 3 because it is constantly throttling to 4 gigahertz. Yay, that form factor that lowers performance. In fact, performance is so bad that reps from Valve directly told Tom's Hardware that they decided to make games boot up by default in 1080p, despite claiming last year that this would be a 4K 60 console. So either they failed or they lied to you about the performance. This is not something competitive with the PS5. This is not something competitive with the Series X. This is a 1080p 60 device that costs more than a PlayStation 5 Pro. And again, you don't even get a controller with it. And for those that say that you're paying a premium for a console-level ease of use in a PC, it's not a PC, and it's not as easy to use as a console. You can't upgrade the CPU, you can't upgrade the GPU, the RAM is apparently very hard to get to, and Gamers Nexus found annoying things like this that you would never have to deal with if you had a PlayStation.
If Valve wants to capture a console audience, it can't rely too heavily on submenus for disable Steam Deck auto detection and manually selecting a Proton version to forcibly download the Windows build instead of the outdated Linux build when your buddy just wants to come over and play Borderlands 2.
And that's the stuff I wanted to start out with in this video before getting directly to the price, because I don't think we can really effectively talk about being disappointed in the price or get into some long-winded discussion about why the price is what it is unless we make it clear it's not just expensive. It's not just that the price is not what we wanted. This thing is horribly weak. It is not problem-free, and therefore it is not just a console for your Steam games. It is a PC that you cannot upgrade, and it's priced like Apple built it. The price isn't higher than expected. Straight up, this thing is just a horrible deal. Gabe didn't price this thing above $1,000 because he had to due to RAM prices that are out there. It's way higher than just blaming that. He priced it this way to make sure he can afford that $70 million mansion in Florida he bought, one specifically for his mega yacht to dock at. And so if you buy the Steam Machine, you're just a yacht funder. You're not supporting some competition for Xbox or PlayStation or a future of better competition against Windows gaming. You clearly are just someone that will buy anything Gabe shits out. You're a yacht funder. Especially, by the way, when you consider that Dave2D confirmed through his contacts that this thing will be insanely low volume. So no, they also didn't price this thing high so that they can manufacture it sustainably. They're not making almost any of them. Gabe is simply out of touch. And this gets me to one of my final points before I show you what you should buy instead of the Steam Machine if you have $1,050 on hand. Overall, I must just say that this is clearly Valve's PS3 moment. The company has become arrogant, out of touch, and full of hubris, just like Sony was 20 years ago. And this price, again, it's genuinely not about the price of RAM or SSDs. You can build something a lot better for less money. It's because of hubris. It's because they plan so badly that they are worse at doing this than you, person sitting at home, just like what happened with the PS3. The PS3 tried to use some fancy in-house GPU to go along with the cell processor. It didn't work out. Sony had no backup plan because they were arrogant and just thought they would win a console generation no matter what went wrong. And then they had to scramble, buy a GPU from NVIDIA they didn't know they would have to buy years before. And then it jacked up the price and it exposed their hubris, a final scramble for components they didn't plan for, just like what's happening now with the Steam Machine. And ultimately, I think that's because it's all gone to his head. Gabe's head, that is. That people have shunned the Epic Games Store, that like pretty much competing storefronts on PC have fallen apart, that they see people say they'd rather buy something on Steam than get it for free on Epic, and they think they don't need to try anymore. He's forgot, by the way, in my opinion, that fundamentally, the reason we ever used Steam was for the good prices, for the summer sales, which if you go and look on Reddit, people are complaining lately. Those suck now too. Valve doesn't even give us the great deals on Steam they used to give us. They're usually the same price if you buy it on PlayStation or Xbox anyways. There is no pricing benefit to buying your games on Steam anymore, and now he wants to sell something weaker than a PS5 for almost twice the price of a PS5. And ultimately, this is really bad timing for Valve. Microsoft, as I've covered in a video that you should check out if you missed it, is about to go for their throat with a revamped Windows Store and a cost-optimized Helix console that might do what the Steam Machine said it would do and failed to do, be some sort of hybrid device that brings PC gaming to almost console prices. And by the way, again, check out that video. Game devs think it actually could work. This is, they believe, probably Microsoft's most competent attempt at trying to figure out how to take on Steam. Time will tell if they manage to, and look, I want to be very clear. I am not saying Valve is doomed. After all, if I'm comparing the Steam Machine to the PS3 ended up winning and building momentum, and Sony is the most dominant player in console gaming right now. Probably even if you look at the attach ratio of games, probably at least on the same level or higher than Nintendo. So me comparing the Steam Machine to the PS3 long-term could be seen as me saying, oh, actually, they will be successful. But if they go through a rough patch, I'm calling it, this will be seen as Valve's PS3 moment. And actually, speaking of PlayStation, another thing as well, the PS6, I'm seeing some people saying this means the PS6 will be $1,500 or something. That is a laughably out-of-touch take. That makes no sense. Why would the PS6 pricing be connected to the Steam Machine if the PS5's in it? If you're arguing the PS6 will be $1,500, you should be arguing the PS5 should be $1,200 right now without a controller. But it's not. These products, the Xbox and PlayStation, those are pretty much connected, but clearly what's going on with the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck, no, those prices are not connected to next-gen console prices. Gabe is out to lunch. If they were connected, the PS5 would be $1,200 already before we even discuss the PS6. Oh, and I keep mentioning the without a controller thing. So let's get to what you could get instead. Already tons of people have been pointing out the alternative builds you could get instead of the Steam Machine. Like this one person on Twitter who lives in Spain. I want to point that out because it's not just in America. This person who lives in Spain for a similar price can get a desktop, a pre-built one, by the way, that comes with 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 5060 Ti, a GPU roughly double the performance of the GPU in the Steam Machine. And I looked myself at Micro Center, but again, the other one wasn't at Micro Center, that was in Europe. But if I do go to Micro Center and I build it myself, I can do a build that has a 7500 X3D, a CPU that's like, I don't know what it is, like double the performance from what I can tell of the CPU in the Steam Machine. I can get a 9060 XT, 16 gigabyte, a 16 gigabyte GPU that's closer to the PS5 Pro in performance, really, than the PS5 base in performance. That thing there, yeah, that's like 70% faster than the Steam Machine's GPU. And I can even manage to put it in a smaller form factor build and give you a controller, and it's cheaper. It's 10, you save $10 compared to the Steam machine. That's how bad this deal is. And again, that's not just in America with Micro Center. It's also in Europe, as you can see with what I'm putting on screen here. And yeah, look, I will say this too, I have to, that Micro Center did sponsor this video, but I was given no rules for what I had to say. And I thought this was the perfect way to work an add-in, because this time I'm actually using them to directly try to save you money and demonstrate how bad of a deal the Steam machine is. Do not buy the Steam machine. This isn't for expanding PC gaming to kids like they said it would be. Kids don't have over $1,000 to buy this. This isn't for keeping Xbox or PlayStation in check. This thing isn't remotely competitive with the current gen consoles, let alone the monsters they're going to release next year. And this is not a budget entry point into PC gaming. It doesn't have an upgradable CPU. It doesn't have an upgradable GPU. The RAM's a pain in the ass to try to upgrade. And you can build something 70 to 100% faster for the same price, actually $10 less, and even get a controller. This is not for anybody. The Steam machine is only for people who want to fund Gabe Newell's yacht.